Hello students, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jagdeep. In this video series, we are learning about supply. In our previous video, we learned about changes in quantity supplied. This video shall focus on change in supply. So without wasting any time further, let's get started. By the way, I also offer online tutoring in economics and I'm currently working with students from Singapore, Romania and Dubai. So wherever you are in the world, if you would like a personal guidance session from me, feel free to reach out. The number is displayed on the screen. So when we talk about change in supply, we are focusing on the factors that influence supply other than the price of the commodity. For all those people who have just landed upon this video and are confused with regards to what is quantity supplied and what is supply, you can take a look at the video previous to this, which was changes in quantity supplied, and then come back on this video. When all the factors that influence supply other than the price of the commodity, when they change, they would cause the supply to either increase or decrease. Now when the supply is increasing, more of the quantity will be supplied at each and every price. We'll understand more of this when we take a look at the diagram. Under the scenario of an increase in supply, the supply curve would shift to the right. So it's not just a movement along the curve, but it's the movement of the curve. The curve would shift to the right. We generally refer to an increase in supply as an increase in supply. Why am I stressing on this? Because a lot of students make a lot of errors here, and it's really important to understand the difference between increase in quantity supplied and increase in supply. So the moment you prefix a quantity here, this segment becomes wrong. Okay. When we talk about decrease, less of the quantity is now supplied at each and every price. So when we use this statement, each and every price, that means price technically has no major role to play when it comes to increase or decrease in supply. Under the case of decrease, the supply curve would shift to the left, and we generally write it as decrease in supply, not quantity supplied, because the moment you fix quantity here, this change would revert to a movement along the curve, not off the curve. Okay, let's take a look at the diagram. So here are the graphs. Let me label them first. This is Y, O, X. For here also Y, O, X. We have price on the y-axis and quantity supplied on the x-axis. Alright. Now a supply curve is ideally an upward sloping curve because it has a positive relationship with the price. So let me name it as supply curve. Here also I'll draw the supply curve first, and then we'll take a look at what is increase and decrease. Now when we talk about increase, we just studied that the supply curve would shift to the right. Let's take a look at how it is depicted. So a rightward shift would look like this. Let us say this is supply 1. We also studied that it mentioned now more would be supplied at each and every price point, right? Let us say this is the initial price and quantity situation P and Q. Now when the supply curve shifts to the right at the same price P, now a larger quantity will be supplied by the sellers. Let us say Q1. And it is not just at this price P, a larger quantity would now be supplied. Now if the price increases to P1, had it been the old supply curve, which is the black supply curve, this would have been the quantity supplied. But now since the supply curve has shifted to the right, this is now what would be supplied in this market, which is Q1, the green colored, right? So we can see there is more being supplied in this market irrespective of the change in the price. That's what we mean by more is being supplied at the same price. And this is what an increase in supply looks like. Let me just clean off this diagram if in case you're drawing along with me. So this is how you would want to represent an increase in supply. So when we talk about an increase in supply, the things to remember, the curve would shift to the right and now a larger quantity would be supplied in this market. What could be the reason that could lead to this? Obviously, price did not change, and even if the price changed, we just saw it did not make any difference. There was still a larger quantity being supplied. So do you remember we talked about all the other factors that influence supply? It is because of those factors that producers are now willing and able to sell more of the commodity at the same price than before. Say for example, an improvement in technology. Won't that let the firms to produce more and be capable of supplying more or offering more for sale? Let us say there are more firms, there are more businesses. So number of firms just increased. That also would increase the supply irrespective of the price levels in the market. Alright, let's take a look at the decrease. So just like an increase, a decrease is a situation where the supply curve would shift to the left. So let's shift the supply curve to the left. We can also call it as a upward shift. This is S1 and it has shifted to the left. What was the significance? Now less is being supplied. What does that mean? That the producer are now not that willing or able to supply this commodity at a given price. Say for example, this is the initial price and quantity in the market. Now when the supply decreases and the curve shifts to the left, at the same price now, the producers would be able to supply only Q1. So there's a reduction in the overall supply in this particular market because the curve has shifted to the left. Can we think of pointers why the supply curve has shifted to the left? Let's see what happens when the price increases. Ideally, the supply should go up. That's the law, right? So let us say price increases to P1. Had it been the previous case, which is the black supply curve, this would have been the supply in this market. But since the supply curve has shifted to the left to S1, now at P1, this is what is being supplied. I'll bring it a little down. This is Q1. So you see there's a reduction in the quantity supplied by the sellers in this market. So even at a higher price now, lesser quantity is being supplied by the sellers. What do you think would be the reasons? Let me clean up this diagram a bit. If in case you are drawing it with me, which ideally you should, it should look neat. So what are the reasons that could cause this? Let us say a bad harvest could reduce the supply. It is something beyond the control. Maybe government has raised taxes, so an increase in taxes could bring down the productivity because it would raise the cost of production, and hence sellers would not be in a position to offer more for sale, reducing the supply and hence shifting the curve to the left. Creating these videos takes a lot of time and effort, students. If they help you, please consider liking, sharing and subscribing. It means a lot and helps me keep making more such content for students like you. Also, if you find learning through long videos daunting and difficult, you could also follow me over my Instagram channel where you could learn the same topics in smaller chunks. Alright students, I'll meet you in another video. Until then, bye now. Take care.